Imagine you're renovating a house while people are still living inside it. Every wall you remove, every wire you reconnect could make the home stronger or cause serious problems if the work isn't done carefully. Now imagine that house is a teenager's brain. Here's something that may surprise you. As more countries and states legalize or relax laws around cannabis, many people assume it's completely harmless. But scientists are discovering a very different story when it comes to teenagers. A growing body of research, highlighted by science writer Sarah Novak in Scientific American, suggests that marijuana may actually change how the teenage brain develops. Researchers from the University of Vermont, Imperial College London, Columbia University, and the University of California, San Diego, have uncovered 4 major ways cannabis appears to reshape the developing brain. So, what exactly happens inside a teenager's brain? And why are scientists becoming increasingly concerned? Let's find out. For decades, marijuana has been viewed through 2 very different lenses. Some people considered it a dangerous, illegal drug. Others believed it was relatively harmless, especially when compared with substances like heroin or cocaine. More recently, attitudes have begun to change. The Trump administration moved to reclassify certain state-licensed medical marijuana products from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. That change could make scientific research into its medical uses much easier. But while laws and public opinion have evolved, one important question has remained. What happens when a brain that is still under construction is repeatedly exposed to cannabis? Years ago, scientists simply didn't have the advanced brain imaging technology needed to answer that question. Today, they can actually watch young brains develop over time, and that has given us an entirely new understanding of cannabis and adolescence. Now, here's the surprising part. Scientists discovered not just one effect, but 4 major ways cannabis may influence the teenage brain. First, researchers found that cannabis appears to speed up the natural thinning of the brain's outer layer, known as the cerebral cortex. Think of this area as your brain's chief executive officer. It's responsible for planning, making decisions, learning, remembering, and controlling emotions. Normally, this layer becomes thinner, gradually, as we mature. But according to research led by Matthew D. Albaugh at the University of Vermont, teenagers who used cannabis showed faster thinning than expected. Second, cannabis appears to change communication between brain regions responsible for memory, emotions, and decision-making. Third, research suggests teenage cannabis users may face a greater risk of serious mental health conditions, including psychosis, anxiety, and depression. And finally, marijuana may interfere with the brain's own natural communication network, known as the endocannabinoid system, which helps regulate mood, sleep, memory, and appetite. Together, these discoveries suggest that cannabis may interrupt one of the most important stages of brain development. One of the most impressive parts of this research is how scientists reached these conclusions. Rather than simply asking teenagers whether they used marijuana, researchers followed nearly 800 adolescents over several years. They scanned each teenager's brain before cannabis use became common, when participants were around 14 years old. Then, 5 years later, they repeated the brain scans and carefully compared the changes with each person's reported cannabis use. Other research teams examined how different brain regions communicated with one another, using advanced brain imaging technology. Scientists also compared these human studies with carefully controlled animal research. Remarkably, both approaches pointed in very similar directions. By combining long-term observations, brain imaging, and laboratory studies, researchers gained much stronger evidence that cannabis itself may contribute to these brain changes, rather than simply being linked with them. Now, it's important to understand something. This research isn't about creating fear, and it certainly isn't about judging people who use cannabis. Instead, it's about giving families, teachers, healthcare professionals, and young people the information they need to make informed decisions. Understanding how cannabis affects the teenage brain could lead to better education programs, earlier mental health support, and more effective prevention strategies. It may also help doctors identify teenagers who are especially vulnerable to anxiety, depression, or addiction before serious problems develop. At the same time, scientists continue exploring the medical benefits of cannabis for certain health conditions. The goal isn't to reject scientific progress, it's to understand who may benefit, who may be at greater risk, and how we can protect developing brains while continuing valuable medical research. Knowledge gives people choices, and informed choices can change lives. Of course, scientists are also careful about what they still don't know. Most of these studies reveal strong links, rather than absolute proof, that cannabis alone causes every observed brain change. Genetics, mental health, family environment, and other lifestyle factors may also play important roles. Another concern is today's cannabis products. According to Matthew Wall from Imperial College London, modern cannabis is dramatically stronger than it was just 20 years ago. Some products now contain up to 95% THC, the main psychoactive ingredient. 2 decades ago, typical marijuana contained only around 3 to 4% THC. That's an enormous difference. Researchers are now asking some very important questions. Can the brain recover if teenagers stop using cannabis? Which young people are most vulnerable? And how can society balance the medical benefits of cannabis with protecting adolescent brain development? These are questions scientists around the world are working hard to answer. The teenage brain is one of nature's greatest construction projects. Every experience, every habit, and every choice helps shape the person that young individual will become. This growing body of scientific research suggests cannabis may influence that construction process in ways scientists are only beginning to understand. While medical cannabis continues to show promise for certain health conditions, adolescence appears to be a particularly sensitive period where caution truly matters. The more we learn about the brain, the better equipped we become to protect future generations, not through fear, but through knowledge, understanding, and evidence-based decisions. Now we'd love to hear from you. Do you think teenagers should receive more education about how cannabis may affect the developing brain before deciding whether to use it? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's scientific discovery, please like, share, and subscribe to Innovative Scientific Discovery for more fascinating science stories that help us better understand our world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next discovery.